So I think
just gonna start recording. Yeah, thank you.
okay, cool. So what I'm going to talk about today is the post-study options for international students. So I will touch upon graduate immigration route. You probably have heard about it, so I will explain to you how it differs from the skilled worker route. I will mention high potential individual route, which you may not know about, and it may not really be relevant to a lot of you, but it may be relevant for some. I will talk about the new scale-up route, which is a very attractive new option. And then I will give you links to information pages on the Home Office website where you can find what people normally look for, and then you can ask me questions. So going to the next slide, yes, graduate route. Once you have completed your studies at graduate level, postgraduate level, PhD, you can apply to stay in the UK for extra time. And it's either 2 years if you have completed a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, or it is for 3 years if you have a PhD. The requirements for this visa are very simple. The university has to confirm that you have successfully completed your course. You don't need anything else, really. You don't need to have maintenance funds. You don't need to show that you have a job offer. All you need, really, is confirmation from the university that you have successfully completed your course. What you have to remember is that the application has to be made within the UK. So you cannot leave the country and then apply for entry clearance from your home country. You have to extend your visa from the UK once you have finished studies. The advantages and limitations of this route, well, it gives you extra time to be in the UK. You have the right to work, which is practically unrestricted. You can do whatever you want. You can take employment, you can start your own business, you can start as a freelance, and you don't have to work. If you are a person of independent means, you can just enjoy yourself. There is really no requirement what you have to do during those 2 years. And also you can travel. You can leave the country once you've got your graduate visa, come back, spend some time here, go away, come back. You can come back as often as you like. So this graduate route visa is extremely flexible, and it is its main advantage. The disadvantage is that this time does not count towards indefinite leave to remain in the UK. And people who want to stay here in the long term may think of other routes. So going to the, yes, well, this is something that I'm often asked, yes, I wanted to mention how much this graduate visa costs. There is the Home Office fee of £715, and then on top of that, you have to pay the immigration health surcharge, which is paid for the total period of the visa. You can't really negotiate and say, well, I want only 1 year, so can I pay for 1 year? No, if you're applying for the 2 years extension, which is the case if you have completed a bachelor's or master's degree, then you pay immigration health surcharge in the amount of £1,248. And if you've done your PhD, then it is £1,872. So be prepared that you have to pay this money. The sum is not refundable if 3 months later you switch into another immigration category, say, for example, also deployment to another road. The immigration health surcharge will be paid again, with the only exception that if you get a job in public sector healthcare, then yes, you may get a refund of immigration health surcharge. And now, well, a few words about high potential individual. this is another alternative for post-study work, but this is for graduates not from UK universities, but from 50 top universities that are not in the UK. Most of them are in the United States, like Yale's and Brown. Well, it's really top universities overseas. The advantage, and why I'm mentioning this, is that you have 5 years after graduation to make this application. So, for example, if you studied for your first degree in one of those universities, then you're studying in the UK, for some reason you have to leave the country, you won't be able to apply for graduate route, but you may be able to apply for under the high potential individual route if you're a graduate of one of those universities within the last 5 years. So it gives you more flexibility, and also it allows you to bring dependents with you. The graduate route visa has one limitation that I forgot to mention, really. It's about the dependents. You can only have dependents if you had them with you when you are on your student visa. Well, you would know that if you are undergraduate students, you're not allowed to bring your dependents with you. If you're studying above degree level of master's or PhD, then you can have dependents with you. So when you're applying for graduate route, if you had dependents being a student, you can have them on the graduate route. If you're switching from student visa into graduate route, after having done your bachelor's degree, then having dependents on graduate route is really not an option, which is quite restrictive. Again, the cost of this high potential individual route is practically the same, but you will have to have ACTIS fees as well on top of everything else to confirm that the degree that you had overseas is equivalent to UK degree. This is a mandatory requirement. And although these universities are all listed as top universities and confirmed by the Home Office that they're accepted, you still have to go to ACTIS and get confirmation from them that your degree is equivalent to UK degree. So now the more attractive option of the skilled worker route. Well, this is sponsored employment. And to apply for skilled worker route, you need to have a job offer from employer in the UK. This employer has to have a sponsor license. If they don't have a license, they can get one. It's not very difficult. Well, we can help them, but get the license. But the main thing is that they have to have a suitable job offer for you. It has to be at a certain skills level. It has to be paid in accordance with the prescribed level of pay. And if everything matches, then all the employee needs is to sign a certificate of sponsorship for you. And well, you are on the skilled worker route, which leads to settlement or indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. You can apply for skilled worker route from abroad, or you can make the application from the UK. You can switch from student route, or you can switch from graduate route. When you have the job offer, then you don't need to leave the country, but you can also make the application from abroad. For the employer, it is slightly more attractive to actually have you switch from student route rather than graduate route, because the employer doesn't have to pay immigration skills charge, which is an additional tax that the employer pays for having a sponsored worker working for them in skilled worker route. It's not massive. There's this immigration skills charge is £364 per year for a small company, which is £1,000 per year per employee for a large business. But well, obviously, employers prefer when they don't have to pay it. So you're in a slightly advantageous situation if you're switching from student route directly into skilled worker route. A few words about who can be the sponsor. Well, the answer is simple. Any business, as long as it is a genuine business, can become a sponsor. What they need is to have a genuine vacancy, which is suitable for the skilled worker route. That means that the job of the vacancy has to be have the required level of skill. So you can't really work as a cleaner because it's not considered a sufficiently skilled job. But you can work as a marketing executive. You can work as a carer, which is now allowed. Well, just a year ago it wasn't, because it wasn't considered sufficient level of skill. But now, well, carers are allowed, and there are lots and lots of professions that are accepted. So, well, you can check the acceptable professions in the immigration rules, and I will give you a link later to this. How to look for a sponsor? I think it's very important that you don't really look directly for, well, any company that has a sponsor license. Yes, there is a list of companies that have a sponsor license, but the main criterion really is whether this company needs you or not. So when you're students, you do have the right to work. Try different options. If you find a company where you are a good fit, where you want to work and they want you in the company, then even if they don't have a license, they can get it. It's not massively complicated. And this one license will allow them to sponsor not just yourself, but as many workers as they want. So in terms of investment, it's certainly not massive for what they get for this. So don't really look for those who already have the license. Broaden your search and just try to find a company which is a good match for your skills and which offers you, well, where you would want to be. And then, you know, things will organize themselves. So really look for a job as if sponsorship is not an issue, but when you come to it, well, you know, you can raise it with the employer, you can explain to them that, well, you know, it is something doable. The main thing is that they should want you. I will say a few words about the salary requirement for the skilled worker route, because that bothers people a lot. Well, the salary requirement is not massive. Generally, it's 25,600 per year, but for graduates, for recent graduates and people who are switching from graduate route, it's lower. It's 20,480 per year, or £10 per hour. And this is the general threshold, or kind of the threshold of salary below which it cannot go. But you will also have to check in the appendix in the immigration rules about specific jobs that have their prescribed level of pay. So, for example, if you're taken at a director level into a company, well, being their business management director or whatever, the prescribed minimum will be considerably higher than if, say, for example, you're taken in a position of marketing executive, where the prescribed pay will probably be sort of around this minimum threshold. But you have to check two figures: the prescribed pay rate for the job and also the general minimum threshold. And the pay for the job has to be, well, whatever is higher of the two. Now, in this slide, I mentioned that this 70% of the going rate. So when you look in the immigration rules, and if you want to check how much, well, they say what is the minimum requirement for the job, what's the minimum pay for the job, you will see the going rate, which is the standard requirement. And then if you go to the right, to the utmost right column, you will see the 70% of the going rate. 70% of the going rate applies to new entrants, and that is yourselves, because you're students switching into skilled worker route or graduates switching into skilled worker route. And it also applies to people who are under 26. So, well, it doesn't mean that you have to be paid less than everybody else. What it means is that the entry is lower. So if salary is a sensitive issue for the employer, they can employ you at the beginning for less money, and then gradually they will increase it. So once you've been at the job for 3 years or 4 years, you will have to be paid the going rate for the job, but initially you can be paid less. Well, that is what I have just talked about, the concessions for new entrants. So while you're students or graduates, you may be paid a little bit less than the going rate for the job. A few words about the minimal skills requirement. Well, this slide shows you the examples of RQF level 3 jobs that only recently were not allowed for sponsorship, when this route was called Tier 2, which you may or may not know, the minimum entry level was RQF level 3. A year ago, so it was reduced to RQF level 3, and say, for example, laboratory technicians, engineering technicians, graphic designers, HR officers, paralegals, managers of small business are now allowed to take sponsored jobs. They're called RQF level 3 jobs, but they are on offer now. So a very quick summary of the skilled worker route and the graduate route. Skilled worker route has this huge advantage that it leads to indefinite leave to remain on completion of 5 years. It's not as flexible as graduate route. You have to work for the specific employer. If you leave this employer, you have to find another sponsor, or you have to leave the country, because this skilled worker route only allows you to work for one employer who sponsors you. You have to be paid the prescribed salary. You have to do a job at required skills level. But well, if everything goes smoothly, after 5 years, you have indefinite leave to remain. Graduate route, of course, is considerably more flexible. You can do many different jobs. You can try different jobs and see what you like and what you don't like. You can travel, you can go home, come back, and in the end, you can choose what you want to do. So in principle, you have to decide, do you want to hurry to go to the skilled worker route, or do you want to take some time to think what you want to do and choose between different employers? And once you know what suits you best, go for the skilled worker route. So it's a little bit of breathing space for you on completion of studies. And well, then I wanted to say a few words about the scale-up worker route. You probably haven't heard of it because it's very new. It was only introduced just about 3 months ago. And at the moment, as far as I know, there is only one sponsor who has the license, but it will change. It's just very, very new. This route is very, very attractive, especially for workers. It's attractive for employers as well, in that they don't have to pay immigration skills charge if they sponsor somebody on this route. But there are certain limitations. The advantages for the worker are that they only have to be sponsored for the initial period of 6 months. And for this period, they're tied to the employer who sponsors them. After that, they're free to do whatever they like. And they can do they can start their own business. You can work as freelance, but on completion of 2 years, you will have to show to the Home Office that at least for 12 months, you were earning not less than £33,000 per year. And for the employer, this is the minimum pay requirement. So it is higher than for when in the skilled worker route, but not really massively higher. So the minimum salary requirement is 33,000. The job has to be at a high skills level. It's RQF level 6. But the big perk of this is that you're only tied to this job for 6 months. And after that, well, some employers are quite sensitive to the duration of employment. So, for example, they don't need you for long periods of time. There is a limited assignment for 6 months, and then they don't need you. This allows them to be quite flexible in this respect, because after 6 months, you can leave, come back when needed. And you can also take other jobs. You can work for other companies. You can start your own business models. You can do whatever you want. And this scale-up worker route leads to indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. So, you can organize your life during the 5-year period with the only requirement that the Home Office sets for you is that you earn at least 33,000 during 12 months of the first stretch of leave, which is for 2 years. And then once it is extended for another 3 years, you have to earn the same amount, well, not less than 33,000 for a period of 24 months. That's how it is. Now, this scale-up worker license is not available to all employers. It has to be a fast-growing business. So, well, at the moment, there are not very many companies that are aware of it, but I'm sure that there will be a lot more. So when you hear about the scale-up worker route, remember that this is a very effective option. Well, this slide gives you links to information pages on the Home Office site. I know that it's quite difficult to get information from the Home Office website, so you will receive these slides and you'll have those links. There is, well, the first link is to skilled occupations, so you can find out, well, which job closest to what interests you is supported by the Home Office in terms of level of skill that is considered to be accepted for the sponsored for any type of sponsored employment. And in this same appendix, you will see the prescribed minimum salary. There is also a link to the shortage occupation list. Now, it's not of much relevance, but you can see which professions in the UK are considered to be on the shortage occupation list. That means that there are not too many professionals in the country. And if you have one of those, that means that you are in a good position to find a job. And the last link is a link to the register of licensed sponsors. Again, you can check the company. If you want to work for a company and want to know whether they have a license or not, you can check following this link. What you will need to do is download the actual list in your computer, because the list is massive. There are thousands and thousands of companies with a sponsor license. And on the first page, well, if you look online, you will only see a portion of companies that start with A. So if you look online for somebody, you will be frustrated. Well, it's not listed and this is not listed. But it's you have to download the list first and then do your search, and you will see there are a lot more companies that appears at the face of it. Right. On this slide, I'm just saying that do not use this list as a starting point when looking for employment, because you will be surprised, but some people just take this list and write to every company on this long list saying, well, do you have a job for me? Thank you very much. It's not the way to approach it. It's only if you're interested in a specific company, have a look, do they have the license or not? And well, if you need any kind of help with immigration matters, please do get in touch with us. But well, for now, I just wanted to see if you have any questions, and I will be happy to answer, well, if I know the answer.